Hello everyone, hope you're doing and welcome back to my channel. Today we are discussing the solutions for the weekly contest 4 to 8. It happened on December 15, which was a Sunday contest basically. So we are just discussing the solutions for this, and I hope you would have also attempted this and let me know in the comments your thought on the difficulty of this particular questions. We'll be discussing the solution for each of this one by one. So in this particular video, I'll be showing you the solution for the first question, which is button with largest push time. Okay, let us see this question first. So it's a easy level question. Always the question number one is a easy question 2 and 3 are medium, and the last one is the hard level question. Okay, so you're expected to solve only question 1, 2 and 3 if you are someone who's a fresher and preparing for some big companies. Okay, 1, 2 and 3 will be sufficient. Fourth one, if possible, you can try, that is also a good thing to do, but yeah, mostly the fourth question will be sometimes very hard, so you can skip that and that is completely fine. Okay, so our target should be question 1, 2 and 3. So in this video I will be showing the solution for the question number 1, and this is the question number 1. 3386 button with longest push time. Okay, so if you see here, basically are given events array. Okay, so this is the array. Here that is a single element has two parameters. Okay, two values. A single element has two values. Okay, so what are they? Let's first try to understand it. So if you see here, the events of I is equal to index I comma time. That is, they are telling. So what is happening is, see, these are the events. Basically, what they're trying to say is each event is basically generated when you are trying to push a particular button. Okay, so what is this first value? The first value tells you the index. Okay, the index at which, that is the index of the button that was pressed. Okay, and this particular time, it tells you finally when which the button got pressed. That is, if you see for the second element, that is, if you talk about the button with index number 2, it took time which is equal to 5 minus 2 to be pressed. Okay, that is the time for it took. That idea here is, see, after this got completed, which is at t equal to 2, you started pressing the button which has index number 2. Okay, so and then it got completed at t equal to 5. So the idea here is, for this particular button which has index 2, it took 5 minus 2 seconds to be pressed. Okay, that is the basic idea. So that is what they're trying to tell you basically. So let us quickly go through the question. You're given a 2D array events which represents the sequence of events where a child pushes a series of buttons on the keyboard. Each, so this thing I have already explained, right? Yeah, indicates, yeah, fine. The array is sorted in the ascending order of time. That is, if you see here, this the second values in each of the elements, that is this particular values, they are sorted in the order of time. Okay, that is, the event that happened first is marked first, and the one which happened later is present after that. Okay, symbol of that. The time taken to press a button is the difference in time between consecutive button presses. Okay, so this is something that is very important to remember. Most of you will do a mistake because of the statement only, and like, let me tell you this, I've already gone through the multiple, if you see here, basically, let me show this quickly. So if you see here, like, multiple people have done a mistake in the question one itself. Okay, so please pay attention, like, because even some of the good rankers are doing mistake in the question number one. So you have to be very careful, like, while solving this kind of questions. Okay, so let me just, this is because of this basically. Okay, the mistake they're doing is because of this reason. They're not able to understand this completely, or they're not able to understand the edge cases present in this particular part. Okay, so the idea is, again, I will explain. See, if you're talking about the element number 2, that is the time taken to press the button which is index number 2. Okay, so the idea here is, it took 5 minus 2 seconds to be pressed. Okay, as simple as that. The idea here is, after completing the pressing of the button, index number 1, you started pressing the button with index number 2, and it got completed t equal to 5. So the total time it took is 5 minus 2, which is 3. Okay, as simple as that. So that is something that the tank tell you. The time for the first button, simply the time at which it was pressed. See, the idea here is, only the exception is for the first button, because for the first button there is no button prior to it. So the idea here is, you have to start at t equal to 0 and at t equal to 2, where you were able to successfully press the button. Okay, so the time to press the button with the index number 1 in this case is t 2 minus 0, which equal to 2 itself. Okay, this is what they're trying to mention through this. The time for the first button is simply the time at which it was pressed. Return the index of the button that took the longest time to push. Okay, so if you see, like, each of them are taking some time to push, so you have to return the index of the number, the button which took the longest time to be pushed. Okay, if multiple buttons have the same longest time, return the button with the smallest index. Okay, so you have to return the button with the smallest index if there are multiple cases where the max time is shared by multiple buttons. In that case, you have to return the one with the smallest index. So you can go through this. Okay, they have given a detailed explanation. Okay, you can go through the explanations here, but I hope the question is pretty simple, so I'm not going through the details of that. And because it is an easy question, so that is reflected here. It is around 10 power 3. The length is going to be around 10 power 3. Okay, and yep, all those things are fine. The time, that is, the input is already sorted in the increasing order of time. Okay, that is something that you have to remember. So coming quickly to the solution part, see here, this is what I'm going to do. I have created an answer. Basically, the answer is going to show two values. Okay, the first is going to be the index of the button that took the longest time, and the time that it took to be pressed. Okay, as simple as that. So there are two values here. What are the two values? See, answer is having two values. The first value is the, but yeah, see, we don't have to return both of them. This is just for my convenience. I'm entering them, but you have to return only the index number. Okay, remember that you only have to return the index number of the button that took the longest time. But for my convenience, I'm entering two variables here. Okay, the first one is going to be going to tell me the index button. Okay, which is going to be the answer. The second one is going to tell me the time it took to be pressed. Okay, as simple as that. Initially, if you see here, I have kept here the zeroth value. That is, if you see the zeroth element, both the values of this are being stored in the answer initially. Remember that, because my loop is going to start from index number 1 and not from index number 0. So the values of the index number 0, I'm storing it here in my answer. Okay, as simple as that. And it's going to be the length. Fine. Now I'm going to start calculating the time. Okay, remember one more thing here is, because the index number 0 is exception, remember that, because if you see here, the time for the first button is simply the time at which you got pressed. For that reason, I have marked it here, because I don't have to redo any calculations for index number 0. So the calculation start from index number 1. For each index starting from index number 1, I will have to subtract the time of the current button press minus the subtract the time of the previous button press. Okay? So this is how it will see. The time taken is equal to the current value, that is the one value of the current index, minus the previous index one value. Okay, if you talk about this, so let us say we are in this particular element. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do 5 minus 2. Okay, this is going to tell me the time that the button with index number 2 took. Okay, so it is going to be 3 seconds. So same the what I'm going to do here. Okay, the time at which the previous button was pressed, that is this one, and the time at which the current button was pressed. Okay, so the difference between them. Now if the time taken is greater than my answer, that is, yeah, answer of 1. Remember, this is the time part, this is the index of the button. Okay, so the 0th value is going to store the index, the 1th value is going to store the time. So if the time taken is greater than my previous answer, what I have to do, you have to just append the answer. Okay, that you have to update the answer, that is, update the event to the answer, update the time to the answer. Okay, as simple as that. Answer of 0 is going to show the index of the button, answer of 1 is going to show the time taken. Okay, the longest time taken. Fine. Remember, this will happen if the time taken is greater than. If the time taken is equal, what I have to do in that case? In that case, I have to just ensure that the index with the lowest value, that, remember the same thing as it told, right? Yep. Yeah, return the one with the smallest index. Okay, this I have to ensure. So what I'm doing, see, if the time taken is same, okay, that is, let us say I have got into a button whose time taken is longest, and at the same time, this is the same value as that of the current answer. So what I have to do in that case? In that case, I have to just ensure that the button, that is the previous answer and the current answer, whichever is having the smallest index, that is being stored. Okay, if you see your answer of 0 comma event, that's the, this is the event number. Remember that this is the first value, that is this value. Okay, the number 2, the number 2 is the event number here. So I'm just trying to capture that. Okay, I'm trying to capture that, and for the previous answer that I've seen, I'm just calculating the index among them, whichever is the minimum, that is minimum, is the minimum index out of the two, that will be stored now in my answer of 0. Okay, as simple as that. And ultimately, this is with the something that I have to return. Okay, let me quickly run this and show it to you. This was an easy question, so I'm not going through in detail of it, because I'm sure that you would have already done it. So I'm not going to again redo everything for you. I'm sure that you don't need them. That's why I'm not doing it. Okay. So as you can see, this clearing the test cases, I've already submitted the solution. So yep, and that was all for this video. But this was about the question number 1. We'll talk about the rest of the questions in other videos. So I will be putting them in some time. So please be patient, and yeah, please check out them as well. Okay. So see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. If you like my efforts, please do subscribe. This really gives a lot of motivation to continue further. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.